Okay, let's talk about classroom observation. Now, for a lot of teachers, just hearing those words can be, well, a little stressful, right? But what if we thought about it differently? What if it wasn't about being judged, but about getting better? Today, we're diving into how to make the observer more of a coach than a critic.
So let's start with a really big question, one that every educator thinks about. What's the real difference between just being a good teacher and being a great one?
And you know what? The answer is almost always in the little things. Those subtle shifts in how you ask a question, the smooth way you move from one activity to the next, that one piece of feedback that finally makes a concept click for a student. That's where the magic is.
Right. So, how do we actually see these crucial details in a real live classroom environment? Well, that's exactly where classroom observation comes in. It's our window into what's really happening.
The very first thing we have to do here is kind of shift our perspective. We need to see observation not as a test, but as a powerful tool for growth. So let's get a clear definition. When we say classroom observation, what are we actually talking about? Well, it's a focused look at teaching and learning, and it uses systemic data collection. And those words are key: focused and systemic. This isn't just someone popping in to say hi. It's a structured way to gather real, objective information. And this quote from Rag, man, it just hits the nail on the head. The whole point is to see if there's a gap between what a teacher wants to do and what's actually happening. It's all about aligning the plan with the reality of the classroom.
So when you boil it all down, the main goal is pretty straightforward. It's to help, not to scare. It's about giving objective feedback, sparking good conversations, and ultimately helping teachers grow by spotting what they do well and where they can get even better.
All right, so what does this actually look like in practice? Well, it's not some mysterious process. It's actually a pretty clear three-phase journey that makes the whole thing feel a lot more collaborative and a lot less scary. And here they are. You've got the pre-observation phase, the observation itself, and then the post-observation phase. Having this structure means no surprises, and it puts teamwork right at the center of everything from the very beginning. Phase 1, this is all about getting on the same page. The teacher and observer sit down and chat. They go over the lesson plan, they clarify the goals, and this is huge, they decide what to focus on. This is the teacher's chance to say, hey, you know what? I'm really trying to work on my questioning techniques. Could you maybe focus on that for me? Then comes phase 2, the actual observation. Now, the observer's job here isn't to judge, it's to be a data collector, pure and simple. They're just systematically noting what the teacher does, what the students do, how they interact, trying to capture a full, accurate picture of the lesson. And finally, phase 3, the follow-up. This is where the magic really happens. The teacher gets to reflect first, which is so important. Then the observer comes in with the data, always starting with the positives. And what's so cool is that a lot of the time, teachers identify their own areas for improvement before the observer even says anything. Okay, so that's the how of the process. But what about the what? What are observers actually looking for when they're in the classroom? Let's get into the specifics.
Yeah, observers aren't just winging it or going on a gut feeling. They use structured forms, kind of like this one. And you should really think of this less like a scary report card and more like a roadmap for effective teaching. It gives everyone a clear framework for what good looks like.
First up, planning and preparation. Is there a clear plan in place? Is the teacher using their time wisely? Are the activities and materials actually the right ones for the learning goals? It's like they say, great teaching doesn't usually happen by accident, right? It all starts with a solid plan. Then you've got the big one, instruction. This is all about the actual act of teaching. Is the teacher mixing up their strategies to keep things interesting? Are the kids getting a chance to actually practice what they're learning? And this is so important. Is the lesson connecting to those big 21st century skills, like critical thinking and teamwork? Of course, none of that works without a positive classroom environment. So this part looks at things like classroom management, the quality of feedback and praise, and whether the room is set up to get everyone actively learning no matter their individual style. Okay, let's zoom in for a second on one really specific but super powerful skill: effective questioning. It's not just about firing off questions, it's about the kind of questions you ask. Are they open-ended? Are you mixing it up? And this is a game changer. Are you giving students enough wait time to actually think before they answer? It can totally change the dynamic of a classroom. And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? This idea is ancient. I mean, look at Aristotle. Those who know, do. Those who understand, teach. And powerful questioning is exactly how you get students to move from just knowing a fact to truly understanding a concept. All right, for any of this to work, the observer themselves has to play a really specific objective role. So let's talk about who these people are and what their mindset needs to be. You've basically got two types of observers. You've got your internal folks, like a peer teacher or a department head who know the school, the students, the whole context. Then you've got external observers, a supervisor, maybe a researcher, and they bring in this amazing, fresh set of eyes, a totally new perspective, and both are super valuable. But no matter who they are, the ideal role is what we call a non-participant observer. All that means is their only job is to watch and take notes. That's it. They don't jump in, they don't interact. Why? Because it helps them stay objective and just gather the data without any bias.
Okay, let's start to bring this all home. I want to put all these pieces together by looking at how the tools, the actual forms, can change depending on who's being taught.
So you can see here the forms themselves are tweaked for different age groups. The rating scales might use different words, but look at the approach. For the younger kids, it's more outcomes-based. What was the overall impact? For older students, it's a bit more objectives-based. Did the lesson hit the specific targets it was supposed to? And here you can see them, side by side. You can tell the basic structure is similar. But if you look closer, the actual things they're looking for are adapted for the different learners. It just makes the whole feedback process so much more useful and relevant.
So what's the big takeaway from all of this? I think this quote from Hopkins just says it all perfectly. Classroom observation isn't a test. It's a critical part of how good teachers become great and how great teachers keep getting better. It's all about that ongoing professional development. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. As we look to the future of education, how can this powerful tool help us build the kinds of classrooms our kids are really going to need? Something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining us for this Explain.